If you've ever felt trapped in the diet cycle, this episode is your permission slip to break free. We're talking with the woman who helped us find freedom in food and health, Carrie Lupoli. And we're talking about food freedom, mindset, and why balance beats restriction every time.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coaches Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction, it's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
Okay, getting ready to start. Today's episode is such a special one for us because we're being joined by the woman who quite literally changed the trajectory of our health, our mindsets, and our coaching. She's here to talk about what it really means to live in blood sugar balance and to disrupt the BS that the traditional diet industry tries to sell us. Please help us welcome our beloved mentor in all things healthy living, the co-creator of PFC3, the founder of Disruptive Nutrition, nutritionist and behavior specialist, Carrie Lupoli. Welcome, Carrie.
I'm so excited to be here. You three ladies are just, you make me cry every time I listen to your episodes, how far you've come, like what you're doing now. I'm honored to be a part of this.
Well, we're so grateful to you too. Before we even get started, we all wanted to take a minute to share with you the most impactful thing that we've learned from you, because you were really the reason behind what we're doing today. So, Elaine, why don't you take it first and share something that
you guys are gonna make me cry.
Yeah, so for me, I can tell you, I have struggled for so long. And I just want to thank you for helping me realize that I'm okay as I am, that the weight doesn't define me, and that what I do in my life is what defines me. For so long, it was all about how I looked, where I was at, and that's I'm stumbling over my words here, but how I looked or where my weight was what defined me and what made me who I am. And what I realize now is that that's not the case. So I am who I am. What I do in my life is what defines me. And I feel so much better about myself, not only about the way I look, but also about what I'm doing for others. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for that. I always say, like, each one of us are put on this earth for a purpose, and we get so caught up in the minutia of these things that don't really actually leave a legacy. And you're leaving a legacy and working with so many other people to do the same. I love it.
Cool.
That's awesome. Amber, how about you?
Yeah. So I love Carrie's authenticity and the idea that nobody is perfect. And what has inspired me so much is her ability to be raw and authentic when life is not going as planned. And she's very full disclosure. She's like, I've been doing XYZ and that's not serving me. And here's what I'm doing. I came into this lifestyle from years of dieting thinking, well, if I'm not perfect, then I'm doing it wrong. And she 100% taught me that as a person in this lifestyle, as well as a coach, that there's room for grace. And it's just a matter of recalculating. And that's where the success is just being who you are and getting back into it because we know how to do it. And we always have that capacity.
Oh, I love that. And it's just like so crazy to hear you talk because I mean, the number of diets you've done, the surgery that you've done, it's like you can just tell your entire thinking is different. It's not just what you do, but it's like really truly leaning into who you always were. It was just hiding behind the dieting world and that cultural conditioning. It's so impressive.
100%.
For sure. So for me, I think the biggest thing that I've learned from Carrie is that I can love myself, that I'm worthy enough myself to love myself. I came to her at a very low point in my life, and I was very frustrated and full of self-judgment and self-frustration, and really just, my negative self-talk was off the charts. And what I learned from her is that I am worthy enough to love myself. And that has changed everything that I do. And I'm so grateful for that.
It's so amazing because I know you as that woman. I don't know you as the woman before. I watched the transformation, but and I always think the funniest story is when at Disruptive Nutrition, my private practice, where you were all clients, which is so incredible that now you're coaches. And we always, kind of release new swag, new inspirational swag. And when we did the Love Your Body, Live Your Purpose t-shirt, you were like, I would never wear that. And now it's like your favorite shirt.
Yeah. I actually literally laughed when I saw that on your website. I'm like, there is no way. And yeah, I bought it. Now I wear it. So
I love it. So good.
but,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for all that you have poured into us and given us and allowed us to kind of fly and do the same for other women. And that's what I think you're all about, Carrie, is being able to pay it forward, and you pour just so much into everybody that you meet. And that's just something that's so amazing.
Well, as you guys know, it's like not easy work, right?
No.
It's exhausting work. And it's always nice because I have my low days and my high days, but it's like moments like this where I get to like come together with women on the other side who are then working with other women on the other side, because Lord knows I can't work with everyone. And I think I would burn out if I did. And so I just am so grateful that you all, I always say this, every woman that says yes to working with me in my private practice, I just feel this humbleness around the trust that was given to me. And then it's like, you're my kids. And then I want you to go change the world with this information. So I don't have to be, and the responsibility doesn't have to be on my shoulders. And one day I can retire.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Carrie, for those of you who may not know your story, how long ago did you first discover the power of blood sugar stabilization and the PFC3 kind of way of life? And what has the impact been for you?
Yeah, so I'm 50 now, and I was in my late 30s when I really discovered this. And I remember it was the prompt, and there's always a line in the sand, right? And I'm like Coach Elaine, I know that, you had that story of going on vacation with your husband and the airplane seat. And for me, it was when my kids started talking about calories and food. And I thought I just felt such shame and such guilt, in addition to the shame and guilt I felt on my body, that I was then teaching them that. So I think that there's always that moment in that story that hopefully is relatable to other people, but it's where the line in the sand gets drawn. And I'd like to say that that was the moment where I was like, that's it, I'm doing better, I'm doing differently. But it took me a very long time after that to even figure out, what should I be doing differently? There was nothing out there that like made sense for me to like get a different result other than gym, diet, all of those things. But I had been like, I started buying box wine because it was cheaper and I didn't have to keep opening a new bottle of wine. I had a pot of coffee I would bring with me to work, not just a cup. And so it was like, I knew that I wasn't like on it. I wasn't focused on myself, and I knew that. So it was like, how do I just in 1% increments just do a little better than I've been doing? And so then I joined a gym, and I was like, okay, let's go back to the gym. And it happened to be at that gym where I went one day, and I still work out with that trainer now 12 years later. But I did go back for 6 months because it was so hard. And I'm like, this sucks. I'm not doing it. They did sled pushes, and I was like, this is the worst. This is like literally straight from the devil. I'm never going back.
I'm not going to put them
6 months later, I went back, and there happened to be a nutritionist that was doing a like $5 seminar on nutrition. And I'm like, all right, I really do know I need to do better. I really hadn't changed any of my behaviors. I hadn't gone back to the gym in 6 months. but I had a conviction. I just, like when you're a confused mind doesn't buy is what they say in sales. It's like, I was just so confused. I didn't know what to do anymore. I knew I needed to do something. And so it was like, I'm very faith-based. And I just think God put me where I was supposed to be at the moment. And there was a coach there, and I remember we all sat in chairs and we all paid $5. And I'm like, I better get something out of this $5. Darn it. I paid $5. And he said something that changed my life. He said, what do you think is more correct, eating an apple or pizza with chicken? And I didn't eat the pizza. As a senior in college, it was when I realized I had an eating disorder, and it was because my work brought in pizza, and I knew that if I ate pizza, I would get fat, and if I got fat, then I would have no value. And that was like my beginning stages of not eating. And then when my kids asked me about calories, it was during pizza night. So pizza was like a trigger for me. And I was like, well, I'm super skeptical of everybody. So I was like, why is he asking that question? Clearly it's an apple, but it's like a trick question, because why would you ask that question? And that's when he went in to talk about protein, fats, and carbs and the balance of it, eating them together and how that balances your blood sugar. Never had heard of blood sugar balance, why it was important, why it mattered for our bodies. And I thought, how is it that I don't know about this? So he said, this was many years ago, and he's like, listen, $10 a day, work for me for $10 a day for 10 days. And I'm going to show you how to do this. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So my husband and I both did it. And basically it was just food. It was eat PFC, right? So I just like followed the rules. It was a script. It was a meal plan. It was not sustainable. But within 7 days, I did my first pull-up in the gym. It was crazy. But that's what happens when you're in your late 30s and you figure something out. Like, you're not in your 50s. But I was like, what is going on? I wasn't craving things. But my husband and I did joke, because like Friday nights without drinking, or like we didn't drink for 10 days. We were like, what did we do? We were like, let's just go to bed, because we felt like we couldn't go out for dinner. We couldn't drink. And I'm like, this is not sustainable. But it was just like prompt of understanding that this was the takeaway. What I put in my body matters. And it was that was the prompt of, okay, this is not good enough. I can't live like this. I remember I dropped a few almonds in my car while I was driving and eating them. And I pulled over because there were 2 almonds on the bottom of my car, like at the floor of my car. And I'm like, I am eating those 2 almonds. And I'm like, this is another diet, right? But then myself, as a behavior specialist, I was a national educational consultant. I had been an educator for many years. I was like, I got to do this differently to make this actually work for women. And so that's what then brought me on a journey over 5 years, really, to find a way to make this something that was not just another diet, and that was actually going to reverse the disordered thinking that so many of us have.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to ask you to kind of build off of that. So elaborate, please, was the spark that led you to become part of this blood sugar stabilization movement?
So I didn't want to be. When I learned that this nutritionist was actually trained by some guy named Mark McDonald, who was like a celebrity nutritionist and had a book, I read the whole book and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And then I saw that he had a certification, and I'm just an educator, right? I'm an educator. I loved my job. I was traveling the country, changing the trajectory of our most failing schools in the country. It was the most rewarding work ever. And I was like, I am living my purpose. And I was. And I just wanted to learn more and more and more. I mean, I would get up on stages and like weigh myself before I did in the hotel rooms, because I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to be in front of people if I didn't have a certain number on the scale. So I knew that stuff had to get overcome. And I felt myself getting clearer and less anxiety the more I ate this way. But there was still this missing piece around my beliefs. It was almost like, because my body started changing, I became more obsessed with my body. It was like, I just finished my book, From Corset to Crown. And I wrote in my book that we've been conditioned to believe that smaller is better, because what happens when you lose weight? Like, what do people say to you?
You look great.
Yep, you look great. But that's code for you look smaller. Yeah. And that's what we as women have been told. We have to be smaller. And so I was reinforced. And then it was really interesting, because then I had people that like didn't want to be my friend anymore, because I had changed my body. And now suddenly I was not one of them. And it was just like this crazy roller coaster of things. So I got certified because I really wanted to understand the food. But as I was going around to schools, I taught mindset and behavior change, and I just kept running that around in my head. So my nutritionist, the guy that talked about the apple and the pizza, I was like, I want to help you build your business. I already had a business, like a job. I didn't. So
Right.
I literally was like, his name was Joe. I'm like, Joe, we are like, this is amazing what you've done and how you work. I want to give you like my perspective as a woman. And then I want you to build your business. And so I was helping him write a book. I was helping him structure his business. And like, he just, you guys know me. I am like ready, fire, aim. And he was a 1 on the Enneagram. If you know what that means, it's like kind of a perfectionist. And he kind of like couldn't like analysis paralysis, and he couldn't get out of his own way. And I was like, I'll just do it myself. And I literally just started doing it myself.
I can hear you saying that.
That is so you.
It was so
Yeah.
me. And I hate
Absolutely.
to say this, but to this day, we don't talk.
Aw.
So I know it makes me a little bit sad, but it wasn't because of that. There were some other things that ended up happening, but I do credit him all day long for being the person that introduced me to it. And I just think that it wasn't his calling, to be honest with you. Like his role was to help me get this information and then for me to take it from there. And so then I was like doing 2 jobs. I'm like teaching people how to eat and traveling the country as a consultant. But I needed both. I needed both because I needed to have a very, very busy life and prove that you could still live this lifestyle with a very busy life. I was raising 2 little kids. I needed to prove that that could work. But really, because in my day job, I was working with mindsets and behavior change every single day. And as I was working with nutrition, I didn't think about combining the 2 until the women that I worked with over time all fell off. And then once they fell off, I was like, why are they falling off? And then I was like, oh, behavior specialist, put that hat on. And then I just became completely obsessed with solving this problem. Like literally completely and totally obsessed until in 2019, I just quit my job fully and was like, I'm all in for this 100%. So I stumbled upon it. I didn't even want it, but it like wanted me.
I like that. It wanted you.
I guess.
I know. And we appreciate that. So
grateful.
Well, and I still get to coach, and I still get to teach and all of that. And now we're developing a children's nutritional literacy program called PFC Pals, which I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of as well. And we're just going to change the way the world looks at food in their bodies and start from kindergarten.
Yeah, I think
imagine if we had figured this out in kindergarten.
I know, really.
That will change the world.
It will.
And I know some of the clients I'm working with have little kids, and the fact they're like, oh, well, I can't eat different than my kids. I'm like, you shouldn't.
Nope.
So anyway, we won't go down that path right now. But I think that is so important. I'm so excited to see that. So I have a question for you. So a lot of what you talked about prior to finding the lifestyle has to do with diet culture. I mean, we're brought up on this diet culture, but can you kind of explain a little bit about what a diet culture is?
Yeah, it's just such a genius. It's the most genius marketing plan known to man and woman. And I did a TEDx in South Africa earlier this year all around this. And doing a TEDx is like, it pulls at your soul in a lot of ways. And I have PTSD because you have to get all of your thoughts into a 15-minute speech and memorize it. And it's impossible. But it forced me to really dig deep into what is the problem really? Like my whole talk was about this cultural conditioning that women have been brought into. And I liken it to the fact that we all wear this corset. We weren't born hating our bodies or believing that we have to look a certain way, but somehow this corset was put on us from a very early age, not a physical one, but this mental one made of food noise and cultural conditioning. And it's just accepted that, again, you look great is code for you are smaller. And the more we the older we get, the more we realize I got to cinch that corset tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is the genius of the diet industry. It's like, when they say like a different wolf in sheep's clothing, is that what they say? Right. So it looks like everything that we're doing is all something different. Like each one of you have tried countless numbers of diets, but they're all the same thing. They all revolve around restriction, deprivation, perfection, and a script, not around an actual education, not around your belief systems about who you are, what you want, and why you want it. The very first question I ask women now is like, okay, tell me what you want, why you want it. They don't know why they want it. They think that if they lose weight, they're going to become confident. right?
Yep.
And that is what we've been conditioned to believe. And I think it's happened in it permeates every aspect of our culture. Like there is a scene in Peter Pan where Tinkerbell is standing on top of a mirror and she looks down at her butt and she looks at it and she's like kind of disgusted with how big her butt is. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's Tinkerbell, for God's sakes.
Right.
Right? Cindy Crawford posted when she was at 70 or something, how she was finally at peace with her body. And I'm like, Cindy Crawford is the person I wanted to be. And
Right.
she's now at 70 finally at peace with her body. So I think it just permeated everything. And if we aren't happy with ourselves, if we don't know ourselves, if we feel at all like we are not enough, if we don't feel that self-worth, we have been taught that we have to shrink in order to then gain that value and confidence. But here's the beautiful thing about the diet industry that we never knew. And this is where it was like an aha moment for me. These plans are not sustainable.
Right.
And so when our body, physically, the physiology of our body cannot withstand putting our body at a deficit for so long. Our mental health cannot stand constantly worrying about food. And so because it's not sustainable, we will fall off. And a diet is this wagon that we put ourselves on. And when we fall off the wagon, it's because it was our fault. We didn't have enough willpower. We didn't have enough, discipline to be able to do it. But if the diet industry has a 90% failure rate, yet we believe it's our fault. So when we fall off, we go back to the same abuser that continued to abuse our bodies and our minds. It's like, that is the definition of abuse. It's scary, but it all is within a marketing ploy to get us to believe once again, you failed again. Once again, you can't do it. So now we are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid of failure. We are afraid of success. And by the time we're 40, 50, 60 years old, that's all we know.
Yep.
And so that's sort of a long explanation, but this corset, we actually can choose to take off. And I think each of you women have figured out that the corset is actually removable. And it's the diet industry that has us believing now in the weight loss industry. But the problem is most of us don't understand that there's another way to live.
Right.
And I think that's where our voices are so important because it's a $150 billion industry. When you think about a school district, I do a lot of work in schools. The average cost of Ozempic in a school district of 1,500 staff is $800,000 a month. The school district ends up having to pay. So it becomes this quick fix, like trendy thing. And of course, once it's not Ozempic, it will be something else. And I'm like, when do we start to recognize the pattern that we're seeing in front of us? Elaine, you went through HCG shots, right? Over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And believe that you were the problem, not the actual shots. And so I think that's the conditioning, right? And then we got to actually see the corset and then take off the corset and then replace it with a crown because we are worthy. And what I know is that we actually have to believe it before the actions will show it.
Yes.
It's a really neat perspective. It flips everything on its head.
Mm-hmm. It really does. And that's why the name of my book is From Corset to Crown, because I think that's what we need to actually start to recognize. And it's something that nobody really talks about except for us in our own little bubble.
Yeah.
I can't wait till it comes out.
I feel like food and freedom have never been put together for a dieting woman. Food, will be a source of emotional, like a crutch for us. And then we villainize food. We have this very problematic relationship with food. We don't understand it. We kind of go after hunger like a badge of honor. And I'm like, hang on a second. Do you look at food as good or bad, as healthy or unhealthy? And she was like, yes. And I realized I go back and I listen and I'm like, how many times have we said, oh, I can't eat the cake. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, I'm so bad. And as a behavior specialist, I analyze behaviors and I realized the identity that we put on food and these binary categories connects to how we feel about ourselves.